You're back with The Nation. 7 roads of national significance with a $10 billion price tag, and that's rising. The roads are part of the government's plan to drive the economy forward by reducing congestion and improving road safety. But are the roads becoming a drain on an already tight transport budget? And is all this spending really worth it? We'll speak to Transport Minister Jerry Brownlee in just a moment. But first, Shelley Nahr with this report.
Twin tunnels, 2.4 kilometres long. Auckland's Waterview connection is billed as the country's biggest and most complex roading project.
3, 2, 1, go.
And it's finally underway. The highway to complete the Western Ring Route is one of 7 so-called roads of national significance. A $10 billion project the government says is critical for building our economy. But it's a scheme critics say will take us on a road to nowhere.
Some of the roads of national significance are gold-plated.
Only to now start cancelling some of them after spending over $216 million.
And the sheer waste of billions of dollars on the roads of national significance.
The project's been plagued with problems. Budgets have been underestimated, plans have been scaled back, and deadlines moved. Critics have also questioned the cost-benefit of some of the roads. Despite the concerns, National is pushing on. The roads are a key election policy, and National wants them finished by 2020. There are 7 of them: a new highway between Puhoi and Wellsford, the already completed Victoria Park Tunnel in Auckland, the Western Ring Route, an upgraded Tauranga Eastern Corridor, an improved Waikato Expressway, a new network of roading for the Wellington Northern Corridor, and new motorways for Christchurch. These are the price tags when costed in 2009, but inflation-adjusted figures are due out at the end of next month. Already the government has confirmed how much 2 of the projects will now cost.
It is the largest program of its kind in New Zealand's history.
Money is tight at the New Zealand Transport Agency, as Transport Minister Jerry Brownlee made clear this week. He announced that motorists would face more taxes to pay for the nation's roads. Road user charges and the petrol tax will rise, and the NZTA has his permission to borrow up to $100 million. One of its priorities, the roads of national significance. We've been told by a number of sources that several of the roads of national significance are running over budget, and the construction of some, including Auckland's Waterview connection, have had to be slowed down to stay within budget. Sources say other projects like the Waikato Expressway have suffered costly construction mistakes, although the NZTA denies this. In an official information request to the NZTA, we asked for expenditure to date for each section of the roads of national significance, including planning, construction and landscaping. Amazingly, they weren't able to provide us with budget breakdowns. In an email, the agency said,
"As long as the work is completed to the standard required and within the agreed costs, we do not ask for a breakdown of their expenditure. This means we cannot provide you with a breakdown of the expenditure to date for each of the sections of each of the roads of national significance."
But we aren't the only ones who have had trouble getting information from the NZTA. Green Party MP Julianne Genter, the party's spokesperson for transport and a transport economist, has also had her inquiries blocked.
It's been extremely difficult to get any information about costs and about benefits. We've asked through written questions, we've asked through OIA requests, and we've asked the Minister in the House. And what we get is a lot of obfuscation. We don't get clear numbers. They defer and delay responding to our questions as often as they can to make it harder for us. Even in the Transport Select Committee, I've proposed to government members that we get a briefing from Ministry of Transport or NZTA officials, and government members voted it down.
The NZTA told us that they don't keep budgets.
It's pretty shocking. I think most New Zealanders would be shocked and appalled to know that the national government is allowing some of its public agencies to be so irresponsible with so much money. I suppose the question for me is, if the government is so sure that these are good projects, that they're going to get the outcome they want, why would they be so secretive about it? Why won't they put that information out there to convince us?
She too has heard of overruns in the roads of national significance projects.
I've definitely heard from people, sort of working on the projects, that some of the sections, like for example, the Kapiti Expressway, came back at several $100 million more than what the official price is, and so. But it's really hard to know because the Minister's Office and NZTA are so protective.
The NZTA may be short of funds, but it's just found a spare $20 million to put a new tunnel under this street to create a new National War Memorial Park. And the government, with all the pressure on its spending, is kicking in a further $50 million from non-roading funds to pay for the tunnel. All this in time for the Gallipoli Centennial in 2015. If you wanted further evidence that budgets are tight at the NZTA, you only need to look at the funding cuts to local road and state highway maintenance contracts. The Southland District Council is losing $1.6 million over the next 3 years for the maintenance and renewal of local roads. Mayor Frana Cardno believes the roads of national significance have sucked up too much funding. And she says exports out of Southland, which make up 16% of our national total, will suffer.
I think Jerry Brownlee needs to sit down and learn some facts. He needs to learn where the economy of New Zealand is based, and he needs to look at those roads of national significance and say what harm would be done if we just put them off for a while till as a country we can afford them. They're roads of national economic significance, and we've done studies to show you where that economic significance is, and that's right here in rural New Zealand.
And it's not just our rural exports at stake. She says if local roads aren't maintained, safety will be compromised, especially in popular tourist areas.
Some of our roads at the moment are pretty grim, but they're going to get worse. And some of them, like up in the Catlins, is not only for our farming communities, but also for tourism. So it will be dangerous. And who's going to wear the cost of lives being lost?
David Adamson is the CEO of the Southland District Council. He and local farmer Vaughan Templeton say local ratepayers can't afford to pay more.
One of the things I think they're saying, we could charge you dairy farmers a little bit more, which I'm sure would upset a number of you.
I already pay about $13,000 in rates. It's pretty frustrating for the farmers because we're the productive part of the economy, we're the places that actually are growing, doing more exports, increasing productivity, and all we see is these big name projects up in Wellington and Auckland, underpasses at the War Memorial and flyovers at the Basin Reserve. You know, there's not much productivity coming out of that.
Well, the ratepayers are already paying pretty much the highest per head of population in New Zealand, and it's a bit dangerous if you actually kill the golden goose that lays the egg, really.
Adamson says it's frustrating to see how much is being spent on the roads of national significance.
Consultants in Wellington, we understand that they've already spent $200 million on consultants for the road going out of north of Wellington, and don't get me wrong, the transmission gully's been discussed for a long time and not much progress is, but $200 million, well, it's basically my 8 years of the roading network down here, and that's just purely on consultants before they turn any dirt.
Michael Barnett, CEO of the Auckland Chamber of Commerce, says the NZTA has never been given enough funding, and now it's simply running out.
So, as a result of not getting the income that they require from road user charges and excise tax, they can't do the spend, they're not holding the workforce here or the machinery, some of that's moving offshore, and as a result, I think when they get ready to pick up on some of these contracts, they could well find themselves without a workforce, without machinery, and at the moment, they're certainly finding themselves without funds.
Because of this, Barnett says some of the roads of national significance, projects he supports, have stalled.
If you have a look at Waterview in Auckland was meant to be completed by 2014. In actual fact, it won't be started till 2013, won't be finished till about 2017. What that means for Auckland, tens of millions of dollars on a project not spent, thousands of jobs that could have been available in Auckland, which would have helped our economy right now, and of course the downspend for those people in their communities.
And not just in Auckland. In other parts of the country, the NZTA is currently negotiating cuts to state highway maintenance contracts. There are quite a few, 97 different contracts. The NZTA want to chop it back to 20. Roading New Zealand, which represents around 80% of contractors, say it's a smart solution in difficult economic times. But smaller contractors, like Chris Russell from Hastings, say they will suffer.
We had to lay everyone off. That was pretty hard, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very hard actually.
Russell's company has cut around 30 staff in the last 2 months, and their business is down 60%.
Well, I don't think it's about price. I think it's that they want to, and I'm talking about maybe the NZTA, want to lessen their risk and have a couple of big players take it over so they don't have to worry about it, maybe. And that's being brutally honest from the way I see it.
Russell says less competition amongst contractors will lead to higher prices, something he's tried to explain to his local National MP.
Really, they tell me it's about the big picture, and I ask them what that means, and they say, well, they want big wins for New Zealand, i.e. maybe the RONS program, and it seems like provincial roads and you know, the people that affects don't matter anymore at the moment.
This squeeze on road funding has the potential to not only impact on the government's plans for economic growth, but also its support in the political heartland.
Shelley Nahr reporting. Next, a response from Transport Minister Jerry Brownlee.